welcome back to the Real Versation. How you doing, Kemba?
Good, and yourself, Mike Doc?
Doing all right, brother. Doing all right.
Excellent.
Want to tell them what we're talking about today?
Today we're talking about, in particular, the Blue Story movie. And we're going to kind of go into, does art imitate life? Does life imitate art? Talk about the controversy around the movie, the view, blah.
Oh, that bit. That's fascinating.
Exactly.
All right.
So, after you, sir.
All right. So, firstly, let's talk about the movie for a start. Let's set this.
So, before that, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
If you haven't seen the movie and you intend to see the movie, we're going to speak about the movie right now. You may not want to watch this right now. All right, off you go.
But don't forget to come back afterwards, because this is the discussion to be had about the movie. So, all right. So, real quick, let's talk about it in sort of how we felt about it first of all. So, for me, I watched this film, being honest about it, almost against my will. Almost against my will. I felt slightly inundated, or have felt slightly inundated with movies that kind of show the street level activities and lifestyle, and it's not just UK ones, like the American ones, like I'm over it kind of thing. I see their place, absolutely. I see that the stories need to be told, but kind of been inundated. A lot of them have hit me, and a lot of them some of them don't necessarily have a message that I feel justified the making of the film. But then again, that comes for a lot of films, so it's not to be down on that genre, because there's a lot of movies in there that need to be seen in that kind of area. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to Blue Story, British flick, directed by, I think his name is Ratman. Written and directed by Ratman. Mm-hmm. I have to say, I was really pleasantly surprised. Like I watched this film, and I came out of it, I mean, there were things I didn't like about it, we'll get into that. Right. But I came out of it feeling as if this is a really relevant modern story about today's life for young people in London that many people across the world, hell, some people in the UK won't be aware of. They won't be aware of the lifestyles, they won't be aware of some of the activities, and they certainly won't be aware of the roots and the sort of living situations of a lot of people that get dragged into this. So that's my first point, just on a very fundamental level. I went into this movie not expecting to enjoy it, coming out of it really quite pleasantly surprised and quite positive about the sort of the message and the agenda that the film has. So before I get into more detail, to tell me your basics.
Pretty much the same, almost identical. I wasn't going to watch the movie because Top Boy 2 had just come out. That was obviously on Netflix, so watched that. And even though I did like Top Boy 2 because it was trying to show some of the darker sides of the street life, I thought another one, in my mind I thought another one, we're so much more than this as young black males, there's so much more to show about us. And so when I saw the poster and I saw the trailer even, I was like, not for me. I was coerced into watching the movie. And I went to the cinema and I was pleasantly surprised. I was like, well, basically my friend said to me, you have to watch this movie. It's not about what you think it's about, and it really shows the real ins and outs and the grimy side of it, not the good, not the great side of it. It doesn't glorify it. So I was pleasantly surprised. So much I've seen it twice.
Impressive.
And we'll get into it, but what I really found great about the writing of it is that there's elements of comedy in such a very serious told movie that wasn't out of place. It didn't seem distasteful, and that's a skill. That's a real skill set. So Ratman, impressive.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Fair dues. All right, so let's just talk about the other aspects, other things we didn't like about it or how it sets, and then we'll go into the larger sort of agenda here. So in terms of the film itself,
yes,
like I said, really quite enjoyed the story and the way it played out. I thought the acting for the most part, like none of them were actors I'm aware of, but I enjoyed most of the performances. I thought they were, for the most part, quite believable. Now, whether people know or not, both you and I have a background in working with young people, and a lot of some young people that we've worked with, do have an existence on this kind of street level. Yeah, some of the characters felt quite authentic. Some of the performances felt quite authentic. Like you, I really appreciated the ability to integrate the more comedic kind of characters or the comic relief, but even those characters had kind of serious both agendas and storylines to pursue. But there were some good comic moments, some moments of levity in there amongst really what's a very serious subject.
Yeah, indeed.
So just like you, I'm quite impressed by that.
Indeed, I mean, what it was is this characters that we all recognise in our life.
Yeah.
You know, people with high-pitched voices that they don't realise they're funny, but they're just funny. So yeah, no, it was awesome. It was awesome. I mean, going a bit deeper in, what the movie essentially showed for me was it showed how somebody who's not interested in that lifestyle, has no aspirations to get into that lifestyle or have that kind of notoriety, how he can find himself in that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that really is something that I probably was unaware of as a youth worker for so many years. But how do you get into that? Like, how do you know what I mean? And that really showed how you can get into it. And I guess I'm hoping, you know, that the viewing public were empathetic to his situation, and without having to spoil it too much, why he would be seeking revenge and why he wouldn't want to let it go. What it didn't do, I mean, you can only do so much in a movie, so not to downplay it. What it didn't do is give a pre-story to how Peckham and Ghetto or Blue Borough actually started beefing. There was a dialogue in the movie where the guy said, one of the main actors says, "Why do Peckham beef Ghetto?" or something like that. And the guy said, "I don't know, because they're pagans." But that there alone is, I don't know. It's like, where did this all start? You know, they're literally right next to one another. So if we know about probably the most famous, notorious gangs are the Bloods and Crips. So we know a history of how that started. There's an actual history, and it's very, very well documented. Do we know a history of Peckham versus Ghetto? And Ghetto being like Deptford, Lewisham area, from what I understand, which they call a Blue Borough. So that would have been great to know. I don't know if there's going to be some kind of thing to come out after it, a documentary or whatever, because maybe if we understand how it started, we can realise that's actually foolishness. Right? Let's leave that. But obviously, that's easy for us to say as grown men. It didn't have too much of the parental aspect of it, because normally we will have like a community coming around, parents coming around and saying this got to stop. So that wasn't too much into it. But as I said, there's only so much you can show.
Yeah.
You know, I really love the dynamic between the brothers. I mean, like the older brother who was head of the Peckham gang and one of the stars, and how he was trying to bring him in. And then you get to find out at the end of the movie that the older Peckham youth, it was his older cousin that brought him in. So this is a family thing.
It's a lineage, yeah.
It's a lineage thing. And so you see now the youth, I can't remember, was it Bricker they called him at the end, yeah? It's almost like he didn't have a choice. That was the life he was destined to come in. He would get back to destiny. So it really is a web of different narratives that show, like, okay, this is how this thing actually happens. For me, it humanizes the youths, because I really feel they get a really bad rap by the media, which we're going to talk about with these incidents in the cinema and the banning of it and how media's portrayed it. So yeah.
I mean, nothing really much more to say about the movie, except just from a technical point of view, just because I'm a film snob to some extent. Like, you know, I love movies. There's aspects of the film I didn't like, but I think those things are totally understandable in terms of the fact that, as far as I know, this is his first major production. Yeah. He's had some short films before that.
Yeah, on YouTube. That's how he got his.
That's how he started.
Yeah.
So I felt it was really quite impressive. I didn't like the way he kind of tied things together with the sort of the rap kind of monologue that he was doing throughout at certain points. I didn't love that.
I think that's because that once again the history of how he came into this and how like he was. It's kind of a musical. It's not a musical. It's kind of a musical.
It's got that element to it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a musical, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. And that's exactly how he kind of was pushing himself as a musician and also telling a story, trying to deal with an issue as to where he grew up.
There's sort of narratives.
Yeah. So I would tell everybody to go on YouTube and look up Shiro's story and have a look at those, and then you'll see the pre-story as to how Blue Story came about. And then go and watch Blue Story, man. Go and watch Blue Story.
I think that's brilliant. I think that's really clever. what I don't think worked is that if you come in cold, if you come in without that backstory and that knowledge, you might like the way he's tied it together with that narration. And I can see that it could have been done and I could have really enjoyed it. I just didn't like the way it was delivered, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I don't like those kind of things at the best of times because they feel lazy. I understand that in this case it isn't. It's actually coming off the back of something else that he's done and it's continuing a particular style.
It's language, isn't it?
It's languages?
What I mean is like the language that most of the world can speak is music. They can understand music, you can convey a message through music. And for me, that's what it is. It's like, okay, cool. I'm going to drive this with the visuals, but I'm going to layer it up with music. So I'm going to actually rap to you and narrate rapping what's happening to you as well.
Which for me would work a lot better if it was a musical. If it was a full-on musical and it was incorporated throughout.
Right.
That, for me, if it was Hamilton style, that would work. Whereas with this, it's very much a dramatic narrative throughout the whole thing, and then these moments of what feel really incongruous moments that come up, and suddenly he's there delivering this, so-and-so died, and you're like, what, really? You've just taken me out.
Where did you come from?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Where were you?
And then you're gone again.
Yeah. Are you his brethren? Does he know you're there?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just took me out.
Yeah, I don't get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. Yeah.
But that's a relatively minor point. So let's move on. Let's talk about the controversy that has arisen around this.
Right.
So tell me what you know of it.
So before we go into that, so another big narrative, and you know, we all have nephews and stuff like that, is loyalty.
Okay.
This is a big thing. Where we grew up, around here, around Battersea Junction, Badgett Court, whatever, loyalty is a huge thing. For most people, inverted commas in the street life, loyalty is a huge thing. If your friend gets in something, you back your friend up. Yeah? This we have to talk about, because what I see with some of the youngers is the loyalty is misplaced. And what I mean by this is that, yes, you should be loyal to your friends. You should back your friends up. But before doing that, you need to actually choose your friends carefully. You need to understand what kind of things they may get into, may not get into, if they're a liability or asset to your life, depending on what kind of life you want to have for you. Because a lot of people, unfortunately, will drag other people down. I just wanted to say that. So the loyalty thing is great. You see that the narrative with these two friends from different estates or different areas, that they weren't really supposed to be friends, but they were friends from young, and the loyalty to one another. You know, it really kept them kind of tight and stuff, but at some point that was gone because one said, oh, actually my brother's putting things in my head and you're to blame, and it all kicks off. So loyalty, yes, loyalty is a great characteristic to have young people, but please, you are allowed to pick your friends. You need to look at, what do you want for your life? Who do you want to be around? Because who you surround yourself with is going to really kind of drive who you are and where you can go. So please, choose your friends carefully. Not because you grew up with somebody or because you live in your area. You don't have to be friends. You can be associates, but that's different now. Because your associates, you don't necessarily have to back them up in beef per se. But your friends, that's a different thing. So I just wanted to say that. So.
Hi, you're watching a clip from a longer episode of The Realversation. If you enjoyed it, please like, and don't forget to share so you can bring your friends in on the conversation. Also, don't forget to check out the full-length episodes at our channel on YouTube, and get involved in the dialogue by commenting down below or by tweeting us at Realversation. Hope I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.